someone on TikTok decided to try and teach me how air systems work on buses. Now, we're on the B10 here because we've just been doing some other stuff for it. Then it's some help, and it's just building its air pressure back up. Now, air systems work on buses and trucks. They don't circulate. Air comes in the compressor, through the cooler, into the dryer to dry the contaminants from the air, and then comes out. And then what happens is, I don't know if I'll be able to show it. You'll definitely be able to hear it. Down here on the floor, there'll be a puddle of water somewhere. There it is. And that is the air system purging the contaminants out of the air. So to the person on TikTok who said air dryers don't work 9 times out of 10, you need a new air dryer. You also need an education on how air systems work, unfortunately. This is how they work. Simple as air compressor, cooler, air dryer, into air tank. Then the only way you expel the air, because that hissing noise now, this hissing noise, is the dryer purging air out because it's not needed to fill up the air system. If we use some air, that valve will close and it'll start redirecting the air pressure to the tanks again, where it's needed through the four-way protection valve. As we can see here, air pressure is up. But say if I lift the suspension up, well, if I go down to empty the air out of the suspension, and we can go all the way up, which I'm doing now, and go back down, then say use a bit of air pressure, so pedal braking, release the handbrake, which it won't do because the doors are on. Shut the doors, use the doors, release the handbrake there. Handbrake won't release because air pressure is a bit low, I think. Handbrake back on. Keep using air. That's now the air alarm coming on to tell you that you've got low air pressure. Now this bus doesn't do it properly, and you'll hear if we now walk to the back again, you'll just be able to hear the exhaust and not the air. You'll hear a slight air leak because this has to have a leak to work at the moment. But that's how the air system works. So we're now not putting any air, we're putting all the air that the compressor is making into the tanks, and you'll see drivers with the foot on the accelerator going "Rah!" to get more air pressure. It gets a little bit, but the maximum you'll get is probably about 1000 RPM, so about that now. That excites the compressor a bit and makes it work a bit harder to compress more air. However, it does make it hotter, but as you heard there, the air alarm has now gone out. It's complaining to say the suspension isn't working, it's not up to 9 bars of pressure, which it never will be. Got door interlock and handbrake on, and as you can see, air tanks are going up. That's the temperature. So, hope you found that helpful, and don't try and teach me about things I don't know. Well, you think I don't know about. When you're on a bus, you make it your knowledge to know how an air system works and how the air systems on your vehicles work. So, this was on a TikTok where someone wanted to know what the psh noise was that goes off at random buses drive around the road or stop stationary. This is what it is. It's the air dryer doing its job. The other hisses and noises you might get is the foot brake, which is there. You get a bit off the door, get a bit off the handbrake. Sometimes this one has a silencer on it, so you won't. You'll get a bit as it comes on. And that's about it. Or the suspension, which you can hear there, is replacing the air. Get rid of it. That's where you hear the air. Simple as, if you hear any other gushing air sounds, just self-leveling, if you hear any other gushing air sounds, it's normally an air leak. And air leaks are a big problem to buses, so that's why they have a 4-way protection valve fitted. The 4-way protection valve simply does its job. When the air goes in out the air dryer, it goes to the 4-way protection valve, which then splits the air system out. There's no electrics on an air system, apart from maybe the air dryer if you've got an electrically assisted dryer. This has a two-tower dryer on it, so it doesn't have that system. But the 4-way then splits it out. It's completely mechanical. It will start filling up if you've put your hoses in properly. Starts filling up air 1. If you've got a single system, single tower system, or a little compressor, this is quite a big compressor. The compressor's down there. So this is quite a big compressor. So this will fill both air tanks 1 and 2 together. Then once 1 and 2 get up to 6 bars, between 6 and 8 bars of pressure, it will then start filling the auxiliary tanks up, which do stuff like your doors, your handbrake, your parking brake, which is your park tank. Whereas on the Danish Dart, for example, that's only got a single stroke compressor in it. So what it will do is it will build up air pressure 1 until 6, 7 bar, sometimes 8, the Solo weights to 8 bars. Then it will build up air tank 2 to 8 bars, and once it's got that, and there's a bit of back pressure on the 4-way protection valve, it'll open up to allow it to start filling the park brake, your suspension, your doors and stuff like that. The 4-way protection valve, if say you get a leak on your doors, you blow an air valve on your door, and you've got air gushing everywhere, that will stop it from gushing, because it will detect the air is escaping very quickly. So it will turn that system off. So it will enable you to drive the vehicle to a safest spot with no air pressure in it. But no air pressure in that tank. Same as if you lose an air tank, one of the main tanks at the front, so you go over a bump, you rip the pin out, there's air gushing everywhere from the pin. It'll enable you to get somewhere because it will stop the flow as best it possibly can of it escaping. The only time the 4-way protection valve can't do this is when it's before the 4-way protection valve. Other things that air systems have, like this has a condenser which condenses water and drops it out, and that's about it really. That's all you have on your air systems. So I know this is a short video and I wanted to make this to prove a point, and you might not be able to hear that, but the air pressure's gone down because of the slight leak I have, and that is then triggered, because it goes down in the auxiliary system as well, that has triggered the governor on the air dryer to redirect air back, shut the valve up and start pumping it back out through the system. As soon as again this will get down to 10 bars, it will psh, and it'll start directing excessive air out of the dryer. That process dries the dryer basically and cleans out all the water. On some buses you will have to drain tanks, and you will find some water in your tank, it's condensation 9 times out of 10. You'll also find probably one tank which will have more water than the other, and that is the ping tank. The ping tank is the pre-processed air, so you'll have more water sitting in that tank than you will. A lot of the time they'll sit them upright, so like that, rather than horizontal, so all the water drops into the bottom and your air thing halfway up, so then you're not contaminating your air, other parts of the air system. That will circulate to a fashion, but it'll be, that's before everything else. So yeah, air systems do not circulate on vehicles. It's one way in, one way out, simple as. So I'm going to turn this off now before it runs out of fuel, disconnect my batteries again, because I've got what I needed to get. So I hope you found this very short video informative and entertaining, and we will be back with normal service shortly. Thank you. Don't forget to check out Patreon.